Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel that celebrates the fact that Celtic have fans all over this great big planet. From Coatbridge to Cologne, Rutherglen to Royston Vesey, wherever you happen to be watching from, you're part of A Celtic World. I wonder, did Paul in Perth get that reference?
I did indeed, yeah.
He's looking for a boy.
It's a local shop for local people, is it not?
Absolutely is. Very good. That was, of course, Herr Lip from the League of Gentlemen. And speaking of gentlemen, David in Bangkok. Sawadee Kap.
Hi, how are you?
Except
actually,
you're not.
I'm not. I'm in Scotstoun Hill in Glasgow today, freezing my whatever's off. 2 degrees here is absolutely shocking. 2 weeks till I get back to the land of the smiles and the hot weather. But fantastic performance last night that fair warmed the cockles.
Well, are your cockles used to transitioning from the hot temperatures to the cold, or do you think you suffer more when you go back home?
I suffer more. Yes. Cold cockles are not as pleasant as warm cockles for me.
I'm just
Leaving
shocked David
David's cockles behind.
Gav.
Oh dear. It's bad enough we're talking about cockles without mentioning transitioning. But let's transition over to Ian, who's not wearing his cap. You're transitioning from what, adolescence to adulthood?
I'm becoming a corporate shill, Gav. I'm becoming a corporate shill. So it's part of my just downward spiral into becoming like. Do you remember ever see the film Office Space? Like that's my level I want to achieve to.
Well, let's say hello to all our other internationalists. Christophe in La France. Lost in Bangkok. Monty is there. Many regulars. Can't say hello to everyone. Can't bring up everyone's comments, but we'll do our best, especially after we get through the game. That's really when the comments come alive. But when we're looking at stills and we're all giving our tuppence worth, it's difficult to also factor in too many comments, but we're very grateful for everyone being here, as always.
Gav,
okay, so yes?
Can you just please give a disclaimer to people that we may have opinions they don't share, and not everything in this podcast will be positive, because I'm just worried that we could upset some people if we, for example, if we say a player's misplaced a pass, we could be considered to maybe be Huns. So would like to get that out there that there may be opinions that people don't agree with.
Okay. Just to provide a little bit of context for everyone, Ian is the most hated man on Twitter today for reasons that we'll talk about later, and we'll show not some of the feedback, but we will address that topic. But quite a lot of people might be tuning in just to give you some abuse, Ian.
Hopefully, because I lap up. I really should monetize my account because I'd be wonderful at it.
Here's the menu for the day with a little bit of German thrown in. I don't know if we have any German scholars, but das Spiel gegen Bayern, the game against Bayern. Obviously, we're going to be going through that. And we'll look at some of the things that happened in and around the game. And then finally, we're going to play Ein Spiel gegen die Betrachter, which means, does anyone know what that means?
You've got a tractor?
And I'll give you the key. No,
game against the Hatate hater.
Say again?
A game against the Hatate hater.
Not that either. It's a game we're going to play with the viewers. So that'll be fun. It'll be like the panel against the viewers. So stay tuned for that. And I don't know how we're going to decide who represents the viewers. We'll have to elect a spokesperson among the regulars. All right, so should we crack on with the game then, gentlemen? Now, little warning, first of all. This wasn't on Celtic TV when I checked this morning after I woke up early to watch the game. It wasn't on Celtic TV for some reason, so I had to watch it on alternative means, which were very poor picture quality. So some of these images are a bit crap. So let's look at them like this, and then it's not quite so bad. So 1 minute in, a Nicholas Kuhn classic. Paul, what an amazing start. Yes.
Well, you're never sure these days with VAR, are you? So, but yeah, I think it was the passage of play was brilliant. Obviously, we played ourselves out on the left hand corner, and then a couple of quite brave passes in midfield. Engels opens it up. He plays a brilliant ball out around the corner to Kuhn, and then Kuhn's away, and the fullback got an almighty scare. To be fair, we should talk about Ali Johnson's run. He's the blur just in front of Kuhn, just inside the box, because he belts in the inside, and that pulls a bunch of players away and creates the big space that Kuhn effectively has now found himself in, and then he hits it really well. It goes through a flurry of bodies. Unfortunately, also Aramidas, who by the point it's coming towards the keeper, he's right in front of him, and he's in an offside position. And I'm sure Ian will make a strong case for the fact they shouldn't have been given as offside. But unfortunately, I think it's pretty solid.
Well, instantly, Manuel Neuer, as you can see there, is appealing to the linesman. One hand in the air, the other pointing. You can't really see it there, but pointing at his eye. So he's immediately saying, I was unsighted for that. Let's go to David, first of all, for his opinion before we go over to the most hated man on X.
Yeah, I thought it was nice of Neuer to do his Jota tribute there. But no, sadly, I have to agree with Paul. I don't mean that sadly because I'm agreeing with Paul, but it was a clear offside. He was obstructing the play. I think it was his birthday yesterday, and I think he was just excited, a wee boy, young Ida, and it would have been the perfect start to the game. But sadly, it was not to be. But yeah, it was a clear obstruction. Was
everyone else listening to Joe Hart on commentary? I had him.
My ears have just recovered. Yeah, he didn't come up for air, did he, Gav?
He spoke a lot. Okay, so this was Ida. Ida, you're infecting me now, David. Ida getting into an offside position and basically dummying. Like he got his feet out of the way, didn't he? Ian, can you really make a case the opposite of Ian of Joe Hart?
100% I can make a case, whether it's legit or not. I think the thing is, very early on, I would like to just one time in Europe just to get a referee that's kind of pedantic for us. It just seems we seem to get these ones that are just pedantic against us. And I think we looked at the what the kind of threshold is for that, and the threshold it essentially comes down to the interpretation there on number 2. The player must be clearly and significantly obstructing the goalkeeper's line of vision. Minor or incidental obstruction is not enough. To me, it's minor and incidental because people are kind of following the ball in. Like, what's Ida meant to do? Is Ida meant to just let up in Campo get in front of the ball? Or so I appreciate there's certain things that tick it there, but it comes down to the referee's interpretation there, and he thinks that Neuer has been significantly offsided, and I think at that sort of level, if we're talking about Champions League, Neuer one of the best goalkeepers, etc., if you factor all that in, it's not significant because he knows Kuhn's taking a shot. He can see the shots coming through a few bodies. I understand why it's ruled out. I just think it's just a bit kind of, I guess it's gutting, and I do kind of feel like had that been at the other end, given the way the referee was, I'm not sure his interpretation of if that was minor or not would have been the same. I don't know, but on referee's decision, it wasn't going to get overturned by VAR because it's not clear and obvious error. It's interpretation, so is what it is. Great start. Rodgers has talked a lot about margins, and that's those ones that it's just like a step over, from us having a fantastic start.
Yeah, this game was all about margins. There's various moments we can look at and say, if that had happened or if that had not happened. It's a rare one to see that interpretation of the rules, a goal being ruled out for someone who was offside, who didn't touch the ball, didn't alter its direction, didn't really obstruct. Did he obstruct anyone getting in the way of it? Other than
no, and he's running into the line of sight as opposed to running down the line of sight, which again is the other thing. If he'd been running and the ball's like coming as he's running and Neuer's taking it, Neuer can see Kuhn shaping the way he's going to go, etc. So, but again, is what it is, isn't it?
I think the thing to say about it
definitely is what it is. That's for sure. Yeah.
If it had stood, it sets a completely different complexion for the game. The roof came off for the few seconds until people realised it was given as an offside, and that momentum would, no doubt, Bayern Munich would have come back into the game. But they were rocked there, and you would imagine that rather than sit back on that lead, there would have been the crowd would have dragged us forward, and we could have got picked off. But there's just as much chance that we could have gone on and got another. And they managed to get into the game and sort of strangle the life out of it, really, and sort of killed the momentum and killed the kind of mood in the stadium pretty quickly, and they did a pretty professional job of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So people agreeing with you there in the comments, similar sentiments. Except for Mickey Burns, we would have been 1-4 down at halftime if the early goal was given.
It's a spirit.
All right. So let's move it on. 44 minutes. Oh, this is their goal. You can see at the top of the screen there, Olise is starting to show for it. Look at his body position compared to Gregory Taylor's, David.
Yeah, I think a lot of people took the opportunity to criticise Taylor. I felt he was unlucky. I thought in the first half, and I know this wasn't a common view amongst our group last night, but I thought he was actually okay in the first half. And when it came, by the time the ball comes to him, there was a bit of a sort of an unlucky deflection, that one. But as soon as he got the deflection, then Olise, it was a world-class goal. Actually, it was pretty much like the shot that Alistair Johnston had in the second half, but the goalkeeper couldn't get a hand to it. So I wouldn't really be too critical of Taylor. I mean, he's playing against a world-class attacker who scored an absolutely tremendous goal. So it was unfortunate, but I wouldn't be too critical of him.
In that instance, I wouldn't be terribly critical. He was pretty unlucky. As you say, the shot was just a thing of beauty. It was absolute peach. Look at him there, winding up for it. Big, athletic, tall. He's like a Brendan Rodgers striker.
Can I take his back, though? Hold on. Can I take his back, though? I think Rodgers said we were too passive, ultimately, in that first half and didn't put enough pressure in the ball without introducing negatives. So, trigger warning for people. The worst culprits of the press for me were Ida and Hatate. The Bayern Munich defence had way too much time. Hatate was jogging about the pitch. It's not a massive criticism of Hatate. I think he looked tired after 15 minutes. He's maybe played too many games. But if you actually watch that in real time, up in Campo has got no pressure on him. Hatate's like waddling over to him and he picks the ball out to Taylor. And that's been an Achilles heel for us. Like, I agree with that. I don't think, I think Taylor gets his leg on it, and I think he's unlucky with the bounce. There is a bit of that. But again, Taylor's not really tight enough to Olise, not aware enough. And it's, how many times have we been here over the past 12, 24 months talking about that ball, that same ball coming down that same side and then getting caught out, and it's a target for everyone. And unfortunately, what it does is it just adds fuel to the thing that we should have paid a couple mil to get KT in, because I think that you were talking about margins. I think that is that's marginal, that the deflection and stuff. But if we'd had KT, you might have eliminated that. But I do think it goes back to what Rodgers was saying. We were way too passive, didn't put enough pressure on the ball at a lot of points, and that goal actually is symptomatic of that and starts with that, because up in Campo can just like swagger through and drop in. And I think it started from the front. And I think you saw the difference when Maeda moved into the middle in the second half, because a lot more pressure was being put on that back line, and they didn't have time to stop and think, which they did in the first half 60 minutes.
Paul?
Ian's spot on. But even like he is a bit unlucky, but he's also it's basics. He's getting turned inside out too quickly. He's got to show him down the right. You know, Rodgers and the coaching staff have done a ton of work. Elise always wants to come in on his left, and you can see why. What a strike! He's got to get tighter, as Ian says, and he's got to show him down the right. And once he is done, Trusty's got to be more aware and be across. Now, I'm not saying that even him getting there would have stopped that strike, but if you look at that still you showed, Gav, he's standing between both players with a good couple of yards either side of him, just with a free shotted goal. There's no way we should be that exposed that easily. And it's symptomatic of Taylor not being good enough at this level. Look, Taylor's been a great servant and he's done a real good job, but we all know he's not at it at this level. And me and Steve had a bit of a discussion this morning, and he was really bemoaning the fact that, you know, he's been a nightmare. And I said, you can't really. It's like moaning about that. It's like moaning about not having having a knife to eat soup, I think is what I wrote, because he's not suitable for that level. So you can't really complain that he doesn't function well at that level. We've known for years that isn't his level, and this is probably
he did actually same as the whole team. They did actually play really well last night and stick to the game plan and do loads right. It's just in those that's what we're saying, in those little moments, the margin, that's the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the team was solid, like the shape was good first half, but as Roger says, we were too passive when we allowed them to kind of dominate the whole position. We never really threatened after that initial Kuhn chance. I don't think we had a good shot on either on or off target first half. So yeah, I'm not hypercritical, but Taylor's not at it at this level. We know that. We've never fixed that problem, as you say, and we had the chance to fix it again this window. We didn't. In fact, we let a left back go and got another one who wasn't match fit in at the death. And Schlupp played, 30, 40 minutes and looked good. And, there's going to be a clamour probably for him to start in the Allianz next week. But it's small margins, but it's margins we've been aware of for years and we haven't fixed it. So, you reap what you sow as far as I'm concerned.
You're on mute, Gav.
Sorry. Yes, you do indeed reap what you sow, and that's certainly true if you leave the likes of Harry Kane alone on a corner from the back stick. Now, David, how could this happen?
I have no idea. I watch my 13-year-old daughter play football, and they would not allow the star striker of the other team to have 6 yards of space, 4 yards from goal. I can't see how. I know people were saying that they ran towards the various other people they were marking, but I mean, how can you have that amount of space for Harry Kane? He didn't even have to do anything particularly clever. I mean, I remember Larsson was brilliant for finding space, but look at that. There's no one. I mean, the nearest player to Kane is a Bayern Munich player. I mean, it was just absolute nonsense. And, in the space of, 10 minutes between that one and the penalty, it just really deflated everything we were trying to achieve, hoping to get a quick start in the second half. And for the first 3 or 4 minutes, Bayern Munich were all over us, but without creating a huge amount. But I think they had about 3 or 4 corners. And even the corner before it, there was alarm bells were ringing. But this one was just ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous at any level, not just at the
I'll offer a case for the defence. I'll do my best.
And I won't, and I've got tons of analysis on this because I watched it about times this morning.
I think, first of all, it's not a corner. I think, but that's symptomatic of the whole thing. We weren't getting corners when it was our one, and they were getting corners when it wasn't. So I think that was just, we just got to suck that up, because when the corner's given, you've got to defend it. I would say this is another learning for us in general, in terms of you could clearly see the amount of work Bayern Munich put into set pieces, because they know it's the difference maker. And we did so well at all. You could tell Bayern Munich, the organisation, all the set pieces, the things they were trying to do. And that one, like we said, they all ran to the front post and left Harry Kane free. And I think there was an element of, we were so disciplined at trying to prevent some of the stuff. It's just that that complete brain freeze, and you go, why is no one got Harry Kane? And that was the only time we messed up at a corner, and it goes back to that margins thing. And it looks even worse because it's Harry Kane and things like that. But what I would like to take from us is we did exceptionally well at people who plug a lot of work into corners, but also let's wise up ourselves. We scored a goal from a set piece. They're massive at this level, and I just think we need to get a lot better at them. We've been saying it for years. That's it in a nutshell there. If you can work at the corners really well and create opportunities like that, it makes massive difference in these games.
Paul?
Well, I've seen, if you've put tons of comments out, there's various things being said. For me, and he had a good game outside of this, the blame lays squarely and fairly on Alistair Johnston. He marked them all first half. He marked them in the 2 previous corners. And for some reason, he completely loses him at this corner. If we take it back a bit, the first of these 3 corners comes because Cal McGregor's sleeping. He gets the ball nicked off him by Masala inside the box. He's pretty lucky not to give a penalty away. If Masala drops when that contact comes in, there's 100% a penalty. Then he goes round the back, and Ian's right, it probably isn't a corner at that point. CCV's absolutely claiming for it, and it's another one of the 50-50s that don't come near. Engels is on Goretzky. Taylor's on Guerra, and I think Trusty's on Eric Dier. They're the 4 that are at the back post. They're all, just before it comes in, they're all outside the 6-yard box in a bunch. Taylor's laughing because he's sort of bouncing in between, trying to work out how he's going to get to Guerra. Engels is tight on Goretzka. And Johnson has drifted into a pack in the 6-yard box, and he's looking back at Kane. But by this point, there's probably about 8 yards of difference between them, maybe 10. He's far too far away. He's not on his man. And he's assuming, like the other 3, Kane is going to run into the 6-yard box. He doesn't. In fact, he stays exactly where he is. Johnson gets caught ball watching and caught under the ball, doesn't attack the ball, can't attack the ball. And Kane just drifts in, and he's completely unmarked, as we see, and smashes it in the back of the net. It's really, really poor from AJ. And he got a warning at the end of the first half where he just lost the flight of the ball when he was marking Kane one-on-one, and Kane should have stuck the header away. He heads it into the side netting. So look, it's definitely AJ. It's definitely his man. He'd done a good job until that point, but he's had an absolute brain freeze there. He's got conned into thinking that Kane is going to come into the area like the rest of them, and he doesn't, and we're done. You can, anyone that's calling Engels out for it, nonsense, not his man. Anyone else who says, yeah, these things can happen, not buying it. We've managed it well. And look, I agree with you, Ian. It's good set play work by them, but it's absolutely amateurish. They were man marking, and AJ was nowhere near his man. And if he's anywhere near his man, he doesn't get a free shot inside the 6-yard box. So it's just that for me, it's another. And this is I had equal sort of. Gav put it up earlier. I got equal sort of waiting to being proud and disappointed and regretful, because this is just another one-off incident in a game where we've done a really basic error. CCV's own goal against Bruges is a perfect example. We've had too many of these across the campaign that are absolute basic errors, and you wouldn't see them on a schoolboy football pitch, and we're doing them in the biggest level. And I get we're under pressure, but we've got to be better at that point.
But another thing that someone's mentioned in the comments is, why is Taylor in the middle of those 3 and not on the line? And Ida should be in the middle and Taylor should be on the line. There's no... Ida's one of the biggest guys. And maybe that's another reason that Johnson goes in, because he sees Taylor and thinks, what's Taylor doing there? He's going to get out-jumped by all these guys. That seems like... Taylor's set-piece organisational thing, though.
He's marking a fullback as well. It's fullback on fullback. It's pretty similar. He's on Guerra. It's pretty similar heights.
Ida shouldn't be on the line though, should he? Ida shouldn't be. A guy decides that Ida shouldn't be on the line. It should be Taylor. It should be like your smaller player, because
that's fine. But we're pulling Taylor into a conversation which is there's
no. I know, but it's not a go at Taylor. What I'm saying is, I'm talking about that goes back to the basics of the organisation. Is like that seems to me like a mad decision. Just in setting up stuff. Do you know what I mean? The attention to detail.
Well, yeah, but the attention to detail is there because AJ's been being tasked with marking Kane.
No,
and he did.
Two separate things. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying at a fundamental level, we need to kind of, I think, when we're talking about margins and details matter, I don't think when we're setting up any sort of corner, one of our best headers of the ball and one of the biggest people is on the line. They should, especially against a team of giants like Bayern Munich, they should be in there to clear the ball. I just think that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying if we're talking about the margins and different bits in that, I think that's a fundamental mistake in the setup. But, splitting hairs.
I think we do need to be better at set pieces in both boxes, but I think in this case, one player's not done their job, and that's what's caused it.
All righty then. The next incident to discuss, 50 minutes. Here we have, you can see Arne Engels there pointing to Nicholas Kuhn to where he wants the ball, David. This was a chance for us to score quite soon after the second goal, which, would have been good for the whole pattern of the game. What happened after this? Engels then crosses to Hatate. Oh, yes, this was frustrating, wasn't it? Hatate's effort on goal. What is that? I've titled
off of goal, Gav. Was going well wide.
50 minutes. Hatate shit shot into traffic is how I saved it on my computer, David.
It was a poor attempt. Even if he had sort of got it on target, you can see from there the Neuer's way to his left, so you had quite a big gap. Although I think is that Maeda who's in front of him as well. So no excuses. He is one of our more cultured players. He usually shows a bit more control than that. A bit disappointing. I think it was a good drag back again. I thought Engels throughout the game was pretty much our top player. Put it into exactly where you wanted it to, probably to the player that you would have liked to have it. Looking there, you can see he probably had time to take a couple of chances, a couple of touches, but he's hit it first time, and he did not cover himself in glory, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, I think he's made a decision too early to hit it first time, and hasn't really appreciated how much time and space he's got, and he's not set up properly, and that's why he sort of skews it off back the way it came, basically.
This is one of a couple of moments in the game where I was thinking, if we had players of the very top quality, like Bayern do, this would have been a goal. There's so much of the goal to aim at there. These are the kind of moments where quality shines through, and you just think, oh, beautifully taken goal. Whereas with us, it's a scuff and incredibly.
You feel as if Engels was delivering that to Engels, you kind of feel that's a goal. There's the one where Maeda nicks it from Neuer later, and you feel as if, if Maeda was also on the other side, he'd be following that in. And I think that comes back to our discussion about the squad and not kind of strengthening a bit more. And the reason to back Rodgers is clearly we do have some good players, and we're just missing those extra little bits and pieces, of quality. And hopefully they'll come, because you look at us now, we've made such progress this year in Europe, and as a team, the signings have all looked pretty decent coming back in. Yeah, we made a poor choice letting Kyogo go and left back go and stuff like that. But realistically now, Rodgers has to be back, and we have to have those players in before the qualifiers next year, because we're all sat here, we can all see the potential, we can see what things are wrong, and it's all we need is a little bit more quality in one or two places.
650 people watching live. That's pretty exciting. Hello, if you're new here, you're very welcome. Maybe I should play a little message for those who are visiting us for the first time. From one of our Italian viewers, perhaps.
Ciao ragazzi. I cannot believe how great a Celtic world is. Magnificent. It's very important to subscribe. Everybody do it immediately. Okay.
Thought Gino De Campo was cancelled.
Yeah, he's in the news for something. I don't know what. I saw that somewhere. But
best to leave it there, I guess.
Problematic behaviour. Does it come under that heading?
Yeah.
All right. Well, some more problematic behaviour here. You have to decide who it was by. Referee, VAR. The guy whose name you pronounce in a kind of strange way, Ian, you put
Up in
the
Campbell.
emphasis on a different syllable and maybe leave a syllable out. Up at
How you
Meccano,
pronounce it? Up in
isn't
Meccano.
that it?
A Meccano, yeah.
A Meccano
Isn't it?
set.
Yeah.
The
Anyway,
French boy.
some of you seem to think, well, a lot of people think this was a definite penalty. I'm not sure I'm in that camp, but who wants to start making the case for that?
Penalty. 100%. He gets a bit on it, but he also then goes through and stamps on Engels, which is dangerous. He's not in control of that ball. So, and then he prevents, by stamping on Engels, he prevents Engels getting to that ball. Anywhere else in the pitch, that is a free kick and probably a yellow card because he's not in control and it's dangerous. I'm seeing some people say red. I think that's maybe just a bit too extreme. But it's 100% a penalty. But it comes back again to this interpretation. The referee was given us nothing and he wasn't going to do it. If that was down the other end, 100% that's given. 100%. Like I said, yes, he does get a little touch on it, but he's not in control at any point. He stamps on the player. He prevents the player from going any further. It's Stonemaller for me.
I agree with Brown Warrior here. I don't really feel it's a penalty because the defender does get a touch and he doesn't then go on to stamp on him, as you make it sound like. He gets a touch and then his foot carries on in the normal way you would expect.
No.
There happens to be a bit of contact between the two players. But, I sometimes struggle between whether I think it's deserving of a penalty or would it be given in the modern era. I'm always thinking that the things shouldn't be a penalty, even though they're often given. So
look at the one Trusty got at Villa. The one that Trusty at Villa. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. That's what gets given against us. The Trusty one against Villa, and then that one doesn't get given. I think this is the issue. It's consistency, and I don't want it to dominate the sort of thing. I understand what you're saying, Gav, but I'm just saying we're not getting the rub in the green at some of these ones, and we've been victim to it. I'm sure Scales has done one that's similar as well, and I just think there's a real lack of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I take that point too. And a lot of people are thinking, if that was the other way around, they would have definitely gotten it. David, what's your view on this?
It was 100% penalty. There's no doubt about it. I don't see any justification for not giving it. I think it's the first time this season that the referee was told to go and have a look because you've made a basic stupid mistake. So VAR were asking him, do you think this is a clear and obvious error? And, I cannot remember any time this year where the person's gone to the TV to check and it's been overturned. So, I mean, that alone was enough for me. I think also when, there was about 15 minutes after that where the same thing happened, where one of the Celtic players cleared the ball and he went through and clattered into the guy and the foul was given. So we have to be consistent here. It was a base. I mean, we were screaming in the drink along last night, and thanks very much to all the people that listened in. It was loads and loads of fun, but really, there's no excuse. That was a 100% penalty, 100%, and it changed the game. It would have, for as soon as we scored, we were all over them. The fans were up for it again. It really was. It was a ridiculous decision and 100% penalty. And I'm not having any discussion to the opposite.
Oh, okay then. So you're not allowing that.
So carry on. Move on.
All right, Paul. I think you're in the majority view as well.
Well, this kind of leads you towards thinking it should be, but I'll go in the eye test. From one angle where you can't see the defender get a touch first, for me, it's 100% a penalty. As soon as you see that twisted at the second angle through, where he gets a slight touch on the ball and the ball first, his foot lands in a natural position. Engels' foot is in a natural position, but he's effectively run into where he's going to put his foot. It's not a penalty. If that was given against us, I'd be absolutely fuming. So I guess that's where I I come back to with all of these stuff. If it was given against you, would you be upset? And I would be. I was upset about the one against Trusty. I'd be so upset if this was given against us. And as shit as it was to happen to us, I was actually, and the ref was rubbish. That's a separate issue. But I actually quite like it when a referee goes to the VAR and said, "Nah,
that's a bit of balls."
So
Maeda gets sent off for less.
I don't agree with that either. Like just because there's been bad mistakes elsewhere, and I agree. Still, I don't think it's a witch hunt against Celtic, but I do think we fall into this category of the biggest clubs get more of the decisions. And if not that anyone from other teams in Scotland will be watching this show tonight, but they'll be pissing themselves laughing that we're complaining about this, because that's the complaint that gets leveled at Scottish football constantly, as the big clubs get the decisions and the little clubs don't. So, we're maybe seeing what some of the smaller clubs around Scotland have constantly complained about.
Well, sometimes the little clubs get decision for them. Sometimes the little podcasts have great results. And tonight, I've got to tell you, this ticker, this number just keeps rocketing up. Do you know what it's at now of people watching live?
Nearly
943. Yeah, that's good going. I think that must be a new record. If we get into 4 digits, it's definitely a new record. You think I would have prepared some new musical releases to mark the occasion, but unfortunately I don't. So you're going to have to live without those. All right, let's talk about substitutions. Next thing that I had saved was this. Ida and Taylor come off, and Jota and Schlupp come on. How did we feel about the substitutions, Paul?
I think they were the substitutions we needed, and that plus obviously the next substitution did change the game positively in our direction. I think Ida battled away well, and he had a mixed bag. He did, there's a few bits where he held the ball up well and knocked it off, but there were times where he just didn't get under control, and it's one of the issues with him. And his pressing game isn't as good as Kyogo's was, and it isn't as good as Maeda's is. And I think in the week I sort of said that we would start with the lineup we started with, and at 65 minutes we would take off Ida and move Maeda into the middle and bring Jota on, and it's exactly what happened. And it gave us a shot in the arm. And to Ian's point earlier, because Maeda gives that higher press and higher energy, the centre backs who'd been cruising up until that point never got a minute's peace, and mayhem ensued pretty much almost immediately as when the change came in. Jota was okay. He probably didn't impose himself as much in the game as we would have liked, and that's probably same for for Kuhn on the other side for most of the match that he was on. But Maeda, just a different beast. I can't believe he's played 90 minutes twice in a row, because we didn't think he would get him in this game, and then he goes in and switches into the centre forward position and continues to press like a maniac. We'll probably want to cover this later, but time's marching on. If he doesn't start in the Allianz Arena in the centre forward position, I'll eat my hat. I think it caused them all sorts of problems, and I think we've got to start with him and probably Jota, and see how we go. Maybe Adamida can help us close out the game and the tie.
Yeah, I think Rodgers is gonna regret not starting Maeda as a centre forward in this one. I think it's probably going to be one of those look back and go, if only I had him in that position, because it was that, like you said, too passive, not enough pressure in the ball. And don't get me wrong, I thought Ida did some good things holding it up, as we said, but the press is just nowhere near to that level. And that's the other thing about letting Kyogo go. Like, Kyogo might not have had the physicality, but he did have the press. He always had the press, always occupied the defenders. So it's just another poor decision letting him go without a replacement.
Well, as you say, Maeda did cause all sorts of trouble, and this is him, the king of the press, as the famous song about Maeda goes. And this is him dashing in, and he gets the ball in front of the onrushing Manuel Neuer. And I know stills don't tell the whole story, but when you look at this was the other moment, Ian, that you mentioned. I was thinking,
he's just off balance.
If he's top quality, he scores. You find a way to slide this in.
Well, no, because I disagree, because I think he has been top quality this season. A lot of this stuff that we've criticised Maeda for in previous seasons and at different points, he's actually fixed. He's been really, really good this season. What the stills don't show is he's pelted to get there, nicked off and play around him, off balance, just trying to squeeze it in. The main issue here is that it's Maeda doing this, and Maeda isn't where Maeda should be because he would be tapping that in. And that's just the difference. I take your point. I think a top level striker. I mean, I'm not sure Reida's finishing that, to be honest with you.
No.
Sure
I don't even mean it for Maeda generally. I just mean when people say, oh, such and such a player isn't good enough for this level, who among the Celtic team really are, the very top of the game, like the Bayern players? And it's hard to make a case for many, but a Bayern kind of striker in that scenario finds a way to slide that home.
Oh yeah, well, Harry Kane's probably hanging around the penalty spot there, and we don't have anyone that's there hanging around the penalty spot. So it's just unfortunate. I think in this instance, you have to give maximum credit to Maeda, because Manuel Neuer was probably feeling every day of his age in those last 20 minutes, because he was running him down for absolutely everything, nearly nicked it off him a couple of times. So I think we just have to say he's unlucky, but he's completely made a massive chance himself there. So fair play to Maeda.
It would have been amazing if he'd scored. What a goal that would have been. It reminded me a wee bit of David, you might remember this one. Mark Hughes for Man United in Rotterdam, where he gets pushed away wide and you think there's no chance. In that circumstance, he had a lot more time to sort of adjust his body position and strike it. But, to score from that kind of angle is difficult. Yeah, Cup Winners' Cup.
Cup Winners' Cup final.
Yeah, but the difference there was Mark Hughes had to hit the outside of his foot. I mean, Mark Hughes was almost on the touchline. I mean, when you look at that still that you showed, Gav, I mean, Maeda's on the 6-yard box. All it has to do is hit it straight. Just hit it straight into the net. We don't need to do a forest outside of the foot. No, I mean, seriously, it's
tap it in. Just tap it in.
No, he's off balance. He's legged it.
No. When you look at that particular still, it's not a top class Bayern Munich striker that's only capable of scoring that. That is a case of just rolling it straight, hitting the ball straight. I actually thought that Maeda was much closer to the touchline, and I was giving him, sort of more credit for getting it close to goal. I can't remember if it went out for a throw-in, but when you look at that, for me, that's quite disappointing that he's missed.
This still doesn't do it any. This still doesn't do it any justice. He's absolutely flying, and a millisecond after that, he's over the touchline. So. Yeah, it's a hard chance. Larson would have tucked it away. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, bit of a shame. 78 minutes then. Oh, this is the goal. Yang, who was, sort of at the heart of everything, it seemed, after he came on, gets a wee touch after Trusty's header, and who's on the spot there to not at home, but Maeda gets the goal he deserved. David?
Sorry, I was just looking at the comment by Ouija that I should maybe get in the squad for the Munich game. Sorry, so I was pleasantly surprised this goal wasn't given as offside, because all the big decisions seemed to go against us last night. But Maeda, right place, right time. Is that 3 headers now, and 3 goal scoring headers in 3 games? I thought it was again, just a predatory striker, which is something that I didn't think he could do. And it really, and I think from what Ian was saying earlier on, as soon as it went into the centre, it was a game changer. The goalkeeper didn't know what to do. The defenders were unsure. There was one, I don't know if it was before or after that, where the goalkeeper's going out to catch a basic ball, and the defender panics and heads it out for a corner. That wouldn't have happened if Ida had been playing. It was because people were worried about where is Maeda. So, he has to start against Bayern Munich next week.
Here's a comment from Maestro saying Yang banged last night. I hope he means Yang. That's not a typo. And he's telling us what he got up to yesterday evening. On the similar topic, The camera always picks out the hot chicks in the crowd, you know, Brazilians and Colombians. Here's the Glasgow version. Oh dear. All right, that was 84 minutes. Everyone was enjoying it. There's real buzz about the place. We're still behind here, but you know, there was a lot of positivity and people enjoying the event. This is AJ's shot that somebody referenced earlier. It could have been a moment of great glory for him, man. Imagine that. Imagine little Canadian boy bangs this one in.
Did everything right. Just quickly going back to Yang, I think Yang helped change the game. I think maybe signing Jota has, you know, bit of a lease of life to him as well, hopefully. Because he was doing a lot of the things that Rodgers wanted. We talked about the not being passive and aggressive, etc. Yang came on, was very aggressive, was closing people down and had some good quality in the ball. And he was causing issues in that side, which was allowing AJ to then kind of maraud forward. And that would have been like an all-timer if that had gone in. I think it's just unfortunate. This goes back to we're playing Bayern Munich. That's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Do you know what I mean? And you actually watch the replay, and there's literally, bar like maybe like 30 centimeters, there's not a lot else AJ can do. He's got the power. He's kept it down. It's in the space. It's avoiding all the players trying to shut him down. It's Manuel Neuer. It's not like I don't know, like Ross McCrory, you know?
Yeah, it was a decent strike, but it wasn't in the place that even the keeper can't reach. You know, like the strike we saw in the first half from Bayern Munich.
But even good keepers have a habit of going down early, and then they're lower and their hands are weaker, and that shot is struck well, would potentially break through and go into the roof of the net. And Neuer almost gets caught on that. He sort of spreads his legs quite wide, but then he manages to give himself a strong base and then keep his sort of body shape good, and gets two arms up and big strong hands, and it's a good save.
Big boy as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And I think he had an injury, a pretty bad injury, and at that age, you think that might be him done for. But yeah, he's back to leading that defense, and yeah, it was a bit of a heartbreaker. But yeah, AJ did pretty much everything right, like Ian says.
1,090, gentlemen. Give yourselves a pat on the back for that. That's pretty good going. Mondays and Thursdays at this time, just 2 shows a week. Feel free to subscribe. It's only our 2nd year. Help us to the massive 2,000 figure that we're closing in on. 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. There's multiple reasons running across the bottom of the screen why that might be a good idea. No adverts getting in the way, for example. Nobody owns us. Nothing that we produce is hidden behind a paywall. And it's all great quality, and you get a little peek behind the curtain. For example, this is what Brian, one of our contributors, likes to do when the pressure's on. He gets the Hoover out, takes little furtive glances over at the screen every now and then, concentrates on...
Yeah, see, when he said that, I didn't realise that was his dog. I thought he had a whole roast chicken there. And I said, what's he done? Got a roast chicken there? And then I had to zoom in, and I saw it was his dog. But in first glance, it looked like a roast chicken.
With God's help, I'll conquer this terrible addiction, he says. Nice little movie reference.
Indeed.
So then these are the stats of the game. Do you want to pick out any of these? Oh, what does it tell you? That we didn't do enough to get a draw out of the game, or how do you want to interpret these?
One of the top 5 teams in Europe, you know, and if you want to be like bank balance CSC, a team that's infinitely richer with players, you know, like they've got World Cup finalists and they're World Cup winners, laid them with that, and we went, you know, toe to toe with them. And I think we're all waking up today thinking we could have got a lot more out of that if the rub of the green went a different way. And if you told us that 12 months ago that we would be disappointed waking up losing 2-1 to Bayern Munich, I don't think many of us would have believed that that's real progress.
Yeah, spot on. And while we're talking about budgets, I did a quick check this afternoon when I was supposed to be working on their front 4 is currently worth 340 million euros. The 2 wingers they brought on 35 million euros each. The 2 wingers we brought on 10 million euros between them, and Jota accounts for 8 of that. So as if it needed spelled out, the gulf is massive. I think we should all be proud of the performance. But there's definitely a tinge of disappointment and regret. And as Ian says, that's not something we've expected this time last year. But as has been the case a couple of times, like I said before, there's just slim margins that we probably, if we defend that corner, we're probably getting out with a draw. And even with the chances we created late on, and we've covered them in those clips, I don't think it'd be too harsh to got walked away with a draw from that match last night. So yeah, it's kind of what could have been, but no disgrace in that performance, as Mark Nisbet says.
Yeah, I don't feel that disappointed. I came away pretty happy. It's just, what to expect at this level, in these games, the fine margins and, not
it's just the
being
timing
as
though, Gab,
clinical
like
as you can
8
be.
8 seconds before half time.
I was disappointed in the result, of course, but, I didn't expect much more than Celtic's players gave, really. So I think they did a decent job, There's a lot of our viewers are encouraging any newbies here to hit the like button and subscribe. We're one of the very best channels, apparently, of Celtic content. Somebody mentioned the House of Huns. A Celtic World is home to some of those musical treats you may have come across on different platforms. Can we all list off some of our favorite tunes? House of Huns is a recent one.
Shut up with your face.
Shut up your face, directed at
Chris Boyd.
The Maeda one is still my favorite. The one about I don't know what it's called, but the Maeda one's my favorite. But I do think people. But House of Huns is the best. But Maeda one is my favorite.
Nicholas Kuhn and his crafty work, David. You like that one? The German accent.
They're all good. Yeah, I think probably Maeda for me was. I was cursing you because I couldn't get this song out of my head for about 2 days.
I like a classic Everyday Scalp Huns Day. That was probably my favorite. But that's an old classic from first season, I think.
We should really bring out some of the old classics. Like it all started with the Carl Starfelt one, the David Bowie.
Yeah,
which was when I thought I could sing. I've since been.
I want you to go back to doing your presenting duties with CCV. That was my favourite one.
Okay, let's move it on then. Don't bring that one up.
Did not go down well.
Most goals in a Champions League campaign for Celtic. What a feather in Dyson Maida's cap that is. Brilliant, eh?
Outstanding. I think the only problem is now he's a flight risk in the summer. Like I always thought to myself, well, he wouldn't be at Celtic because he didn't join everything up. Over the last 4 or 5 months, he's just started to join everything up. And there's not a player like him anywhere in terms of the physicality and the press and the pace. And he's adding goals and assists to it now. Can play wide and through the middle. And it's typical Celtic fan here, but I'm now panicked. I'm now panicking because at the beginning of the season it was like Kuhn, we're not going to get along with Kuhn. Now I'm thinking I don't think I can handle Dyson leaving.
No. It's a valid concern. My brother messaged me earlier. My brother messaged me earlier going, he's gone in the summer. Somebody will come in and pay stupid money for him. And I just said, let's sign him up, give him a contract till he's 40. Because with that engine, he's probably still going. So yeah, no, it is a definite concern. But hopefully not.
This is a point that Kaiser always makes, is that he reckons that all 3 Japanese players decided that this was their last year in the summer. There's definitely going to be some turnover, and some of it we won't like. That's always the way. Now, what about what Brendan said after the game? We hung in there. We're still in the tie. Are we still in the tie?
Yes, 100%. Puncher's chance. You got to believe we caused them problems, and if they have a couple of injuries and stuff like that, and we can execute a game plan like we did in Atlanta, and we can sneak a goal. There's a lot of ands and ifs and big things. But we've made the progress. Why not? Why not dream? Now, we'd probably get scudded about 10-0, but dream for it.
He and the team have got to believe it. And there's no reason why the fans can't go with hope. We had hope last night, reality bit. and we didn't quite live up to it. Ian's right. Like, they've got a massive game against Leverkusen this weekend. If Leverkusen can get a win in that match, then there's probably still a title fight. If Bayern can win that game, then the title's going to be a long way back for anyone else. So they'll have the strongest team out in that match. They won't be looking at our game. We'll probably rotate the squad quite heavily, and this probably should be the Dundee United preview show, but I doubt we're going to give that much airtime. But I would expect some heavy rotation. I'd expect some heavy rotation. It's a home game. Yeah, United are stuffy and will make it difficult, but we've got to rotate the squad. Guys like Cowan, Bernardo, etc. will need to play. Why not? Like, if we set up well. If we can score the first goal, it makes it really interesting. And I think they'll come out busy and trying to get the tie done and dusted in the first half.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've got to meet that with the same passion, aggression, energy, and fight and work rate. And if we do, there's nothing to say we're half a yard away from starting like a steam train last night. So why not?
The players and the managers have worked hard to give us the opportunity to believe. Right? I think that's the way to look at it. Like, we're waking up disappointed. They've worked hard. They've executed a game plan. They've convinced us all. So why not dare to dream, Gav? Dare to dream.
Can someone give Who's a Snitch a bit of positivity there? Because we got beaten, we're not progressing as a team. Even if we lost in the Champions League final, that would still not represent progress.
Too much time passed. Too much time. If you can't see the progress, there's nothing that any of us can say that will convince you there's progress.
All right, let's move it on. We're not going to have time to play the interactive game that we talked about playing with the viewers, unfortunately. So we'll just flick through some of these. We'll save that for another time when there's not so much to talk about. 1166. A great year in history. No, that's how many people are watching. Amazing. How exciting. All right. This is a response to Ian, who is also known as glasgowceltic on X, Twitter. Someone saying, see how every comment here is saying, get the fuck with this poll. He's proud of that, Ian. What have you done to upset everyone?
Well, do you know, the thing was, it's nothing simpler than me just being a wee guy and wanting to get one over on David, because David said that Calmac was much worse than Hatate. So I was like, right, I'm sure that Hatate is much worse than Calmac. So I'll just put on here, get a poll up, and then I'll come back and I'll say to him, see, I'm right, you're wrong. So I was just being a wee guy. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's funny to me because I had plenty of positive tweets about like the performance and the players and stuff like that. I think it's legitimate sometimes to look at areas we can improve in. Yeah, I could probably ask who is the best player and stuff. Yeah, if you want that. But I just find it funny that majority, and I'm talking about the vast majority of people in the prize that were like going, oh, you can't be doing this, you can't be saying that. You go on their timeline, it's riddled with negativity. So, you can't throw stones in glass houses. And there was a lot of broken windows last night. And, but I do get it, because we live in a generation where people are easily triggered, easily offended, and enjoy wetting the bed. So all the best to them.
Could you upsetting everyone? Well, yeah, my answer to your poll was they all had good moments and poor moments. I didn't think anyone was particularly awful or particularly good. In my view, I thought McGregor and Engels were both, maybe a shade better than Hatate. But if we look at some of the ratings that we saw after the game, if we just look at the midfield there for a second, so it suggests that Engels and Hatate had better games than McGregor, according to this one. There's another one here which says kind of the same thing. Look, Engels and Hatate rated higher than McGregor.
I think, do you know what I think augmented my view of Calmac last night was he was getting forward. He wasn't just recycling the ball. He was getting forward, trying to make things happen, trying to press, etc. I know he made some mistakes, but he seemed like a completely different player to usual to me, and he was really trying stuff. So I guess I know, Paul, you mentioned earlier about him giving the ball away, on the kind of edge of the box and nearly get Musiala, but that ball should never have been passed back to him there. AJ should be putting that up the line. So I think there's, we can make all the excuses you want. I just think if we got that version of Calmac, I think we'd be a better team for it. And we've seen him do it in the last couple of games. So hopefully that's going to be it. But I do agree that, look, the intent of doing it, I've explained. But I think we can't really be too critical of anyone last night. It was a real good team performance. And as Rodgers said, too passive, not enough pressure. And that's where it broke down. If we can fix that, great. If we can get extra help in there, great. But I don't think we can be too critical of anyone. Yeah,
I think to that point, and to Rodgers' point, I think the midfield was pretty solid and actually pretty good at times on the ball, with the ball. I think the sort of deficiencies were probably without the ball. Like the press wasn't good enough. We were a bit passive. To your point, Ian, so it looked like some of the pressing was just a jog. There wasn't really a real intent to nick the ball and really turn over possession. It was more just, try and keep him at bay and kind of slow them down a bit, as opposed to actually trying to turn over possession. But yeah, I think there's some really good moments. Engels wasn't without fault, but I thought he was the pick of the bunch. Some of his passing was great. There was a moment in the first half where he got the ball blindside. He turned blindsided, and there was a player right on him, and he jinked out of that and opened up the play. And he's got such a high ceiling, as you would expect from somebody he spent 11 million on. But there's lots of levels to go with him, and it's exciting to see where he might end up.
Right. Well, I put this picture up to try and encourage us to keep the pace going as we get through these games, photos around the game. Did you all see this interview between Peter Schmeichel and 80-year-old Rod Stewart? Can you believe he's 80? The hair on him. I'm jealous.
That's a wig.
A wig, yeah.
Is it a wig?
I mean, well, it looks like it's got a life of its own, Gav.
I don't think it's a wig.
In the earlier clip, Gav?
Say again? Oh, no, I don't have a clip of it, no.
Oh, is it not the clip of the woman who you showed in the earlier photo? The cute one?
I have no clips of women to play today, David.
We
can do that, have that conversation after we're off the air.
You did. You just showed a photo of an 80-year-old woman about 10 minutes ago.
I did. You're right.
And I was asking, did they get her out of the crowd?
Uh-huh. Well, this is a drunk Rod Stewart talking to the CBS crew about the game. Do we want to touch on this? The disgraceful treatment of Liam McRandles on Twitter. You thought you got some abuse in. A lot of people were complaining that he was going to be part of the pre-match entertainment.
Do you know what? I feel for the guy if he's genuinely felt all that, but look, I just don't understand why people don't know what social media is about these days. And I just don't know why people who are like performers and stuff don't have a bit of a thicker skin. I don't know all the ins and the outs of it and like the abuse and stuff. I think it just depends how you're built. Some people it washes off of you. Some people take it to heart. I think he's probably just one of the guys that takes it to heart. Like, I feel bad for him if that is the case. But I do think the nature of where we are now, anything you do, like if you're putting yourself out there, there's just this little like bus loads of little gimps ready to insult you and come at you. You just have to take it with the territory. Unfortunate, but it's what it is, Gav, as you like me saying.
Yeah, well, as a singer-songwriter myself, I've come in for some abuse for some of my creations. There's this point here, someone saying, I didn't say any of the personal attacks on him, but just don't want a crackly guitar and barely hearing him sing instead of actual music to get the place up for it. He's talented, no doubt, but not for match day's pitch side. I see a lot of people making this point. It's not a personal attack on him. It's just saying a guy with a guitar and a microphone isn't really what we need. And in these moments, apparently he sings, inside in the Kerrydale suite, whatever, and he's great. And lots of people love him. But this is not. It's not the time and place for that. You should let the crowd make the noise or have the tunes pumping out of the expensive PA system.
You'll have half people saying one thing, that's the thing, Gav. You'll have half people saying one thing, half saying the other, and it's a preference and it's a personal opinion. So you're not going to change either half to what it is. If he wanted to do it, He should have gone ahead and done it. If the club wanted to do it, they should have gone ahead and
Yeah.
done it. You're going to get criticism either way. Either way, he's getting criticised.
Well, what do you think of this music that's often played? Do you think this gets players pumped up before the game? Do you think this is Eye of the Tiger stuff? Is it
Of course it
sacrilege to suggest that that's not great? You know,
Yeah,
psychologically.
but there's history attached to that, Gav. That's the
Of
difference.
course,
There's
I know
history
all
attached,
that.
there's
I know
emotion
that
attached
argument.
to that.
It's just a prompt as well for the fans to take over and pump it out as well. I can agree with Ian. I feel like if the club and the guy want to go ahead with it, they should just crack on. And you know, if Celtic fans are genuinely, you know, having pops at Celtic fans on social media, if they're that upset that's what's happening pre-match, go to the club. Don't beat up on a guy on social media. It's daft, isn't it? Find something better.
Yeah, don't beat up a guy on social media. Lost in Bangkok. I love getting accused of being a Hun. That's like, you know, in an argument when someone brings up Hitler, you always think, oh, you've lost the argument, mate. So there you go.
How many
That's quite
times do
funny.
you get accused of being Hitler, Gav? I've had loads of
more
arguments,
often.
and I've never been accused of being Hitler.
Well,
Bizarre, but anyway.
It's all those Roman salutes.
jeez. A little bit of politics there. A little bit of politics here. Celtic fans in Glasgow show Israel the red card. That's getting a lot of coverage. Anyone want to touch on that?
But I think there was a wee explainer that's going around. People can look at it on social media. I think that's your opinion. This decides what side of history you'd like to be on.
And the other tifo, I still pray to God we go on another run. You love that? Who loves that? You love that?
I like
Yes, great. Another
I like
cracking
it.
one.
I like the sentiment.
And the wee Teddy.
Wee Teddy. Wee Teddy bear. All right, lads, we've overrun 1 minute 7, 12:65, 1,265 people. That is awesome. Lost in Bangkok saying that second one is amazing. Apparently the Glendale CSC are coming from me after that sacrilege. I'm in trouble now. Oh no.
There'll be a while
thank
though.
you.
Like,
Thank you to everyone in the comments as always. It's fantastic to have you participating so much. I wanted to play a little quiz thing, us against the people watching, but we'll do that another time. We've overrun. We're going to have less to talk about on future shows, I imagine, because this was such a massive game. So much happened. Thank you very much, Henrik, for saying that. If you thought it was great crack, you know what to do. Subscribe or subscribe. Do it immediately, as you heard earlier. That would be great. We would appreciate it. It would make us very happy, wouldn't we, as we push forward? Can you think we're going to get to 2,000, Paul, this season?
I'm sure we are.
yeah, when we beat Bayern in the Alliance, then it's going to go mad.
In
the
what?
Alliance against Upamecano?
Is it not the Alliance Arena?
Alliance.
Oh, Christ, made a conversation error.
No one's going to give you a hard time online. Don't worry about it, Ian. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. As I say, the show should be on more than twice a week. Well, you know, we don't want to be peppering people's inboxes too much. Mondays and Thursdays, we've all got busy lives. You know, we're not a daily news channel. It's only twice a week. So you can definitely add us to the things that you subscribe to without thinking that you're going to be inundated. That's the good thing. And as you say, yeah, Monday and Thursday, 2 quality shows. A lot of preparation goes into them. It's a more visual experience than just 4 ugly mugs talking to each other, droning on for an hour and 9 minutes and 34 seconds. All right, everyone. Thanks as always. See you on the next one. Hail, hail.
Cheers.